Shwmai a croeso cynnes. Welcome to What's Your Story. I'm James Owen, a Welsh filmmaker and storyteller, and I'm passionate about sharing stories. This podcast is all about business owners sharing their journey. We'll be speaking with directors, entrepreneurs, and creatives from all across Wales to learn from their experiences. We believe everyone has a story to tell. What's your story? Shwmai a croeso cynnes, welcome back to What's Your Story. And I'm very pleased to have somebody in the hot seat today who I respect as myself being a business owner, somebody who's been in business for a very long time. This man is someone who has... I'm gonna once I get going now. We don't cut this actually, see. Gotta get in the... Bloody hell. It's a long time since I've done that, Joe. I've deer in headlights. Okay. Shwmai a croeso cynnes, welcome back to What's Your Story. And I'm very excited to have a special guest. All our guests are special in the hot seat today. A man from Ammanford who is a successful business owner. And for myself as a business owner, look up to this man as someone who has lots of wisdom. He's been in business a very, very long time. If he doesn't know this, the person I'm looking for in Carmarthenshire, then they don't exist. It is Phil Evans. Phil, diolch yn fawr. Thank you so much for coming on to What's Your Story.
Thank you. What a build-up. I was wondering then, who's going to walk in?
It's you. You've already walked in. But you're from Ammanford. I've just learned this now. Millionaires County.
Someone did say Millionaires Playground, or the little fishing village of Ammanford.
Is it a fishing village?
No, they got a river.
They got a river, so there's some fish there. Phil, I'm really pleased to have you come down and speak to our audience. I've known you for some time, been around the circuit, developing my own business, gotten to know a few people, and you're very well known in the area, in the world of business networking. I want to give you a chance now for those watching and listening, for those who don't already know you. What does a typical week look like for you, Phil, as someone who helps people with their finances?
I can put that in a very, very short statement, really, and I think problem solving. Because I could have been a lot more technical, but the reality is that each and every one of us goes about our daily lives and weekly lives, and we're dealing with challenges and problems. We've all got challenges and problems. The only people that don't have challenges and problems are in the local cemetery, really. And what tools can I bring to their lives to help ease these problems? Problem solver.
Problem solver. I think as most business owners, we're all problem solvers. We're solving problems through video and films, and yourself through advice and money in financial services. Growing up in the fishing village of Ammanford, did you always want to be a financial planner?
I didn't think I was clever enough. When I left school with, it wasn't my best years, but I wanted to be a carpenter. And Margaret Thatcher spoiled that, really, because she stopped the local tradesmen, builders, taking on apprentices.
Really?
So I couldn't get a job, couldn't get an apprenticeship. So I was in the wilderness, labouring, doing the heavy work for a number of years, until someone saw something in me and gave me an opportunity of coming into financial services in my early 20s. And they saw something in me that I couldn't quite grasp. But after about 2 years in a form of a partnership, I went it alone, and full of blind faith and determination, like a spaniel with too much energy, and stuck with it, really. And here we are today.
40 years later?
41 years later.
41 years later.
Still learning.
Still learning. Well, that's the key. You know, you never never master it.
No.
We're always learning in life, always learning in business. There's never there's never a time where we've cracked it or mastered it. Obviously, you can get better at skills. The more you do something, the better you get. But yeah, always learning. So yeah, and I've learned a lot from you in my short time of knowing you, Phil. So you've helped. I don't even know how many people in your lifetime have you already helped? Business owners, entrepreneurs? Because I think where somebody like you would support. I mean, everyone needs financial advice, but I think business owners especially need the advice because I think if you, and that's not to say if you're employed you don't need a pension. Of course you need a pension, but if you've got a very good pension, you're probably less inclined to take that advice. And I think if you're a business owner, probably need it more than anyone else. So can you think about how many people you've potentially helped over the years? It's a lot, I bet.
There is a lot, and I don't want to come on here and boast. I'd rather be able to share some nuggets of wisdom, really. But there's an interesting thing that most business owners that you and I come across, and we've been there ourselves, really, and these business owners don't see themselves as risk takers. So they've left the comfort of an employed position to go it alone. If you ask most business owners, why did you decide to go it alone? I was made redundant, or I wanted to better myself. I wanted to build something for my family, people I cared about. And yeah, that does make sense. However, once they've left the comfort zone of an employed position, they start to build a business. And the biggest challenge they have is market share or brand awareness, being known, and cash flow. Very little else, really. So they've left a big employer that had perks, and the perks would have been death in service. God forbid if they died whilst they were employed, their family would be taken care of. Pensions. So the employer has got to put money into a pot, HMRC, tax relief, and the employee puts money in. So there's three people putting into the pot. Oh, they might have sickness benefit as well. Some employers give them 6 months full pay if they can't work, then 6 months half pay. So for 12 months, there's a bit of security. Some then have BUPA type of benefit, healthcare benefit. But they decide to go it alone. And they say they wave goodbye, death in service, pension, sickness benefit. And they try to build a business. Most business owners can't afford all those perks they left behind.
Mm.
So I witnessed over the years people going from a mediocre lifestyle to a huge lifestyle. Not lasting long. There's only three things that can happen to us, really. We can live too long, we can die too soon, or become disabled. In each situation, there's a definite need for money. How many business owners go out there, they say they're not risk takers, and yet they've taken on a huge risk, going it alone, nothing in place to deal with the unknown, or when things happen. Bad things happen to good people.
Mm.
And we've all got stories where things haven't gone quite to plan. So I tend to sit down with them and get them to share what's important to them. How important is it? Let's do something about it. And work with them until we get it right. Sometimes that takes years. But being there to encourage people to do the right thing, especially if there's big commitment, huge mortgages, big debt, because most business owners are deep in debt. They've also got family to support as well. I deal a lot with widows and orphans. I've got over 100 widows, widowers and orphans that I work with. Now, some of them have got it right, and some of them could have made better decisions. So what can we do to improve on their family security and just guide them? not dictate to them, guide them.
I mean, business owners, I'm in that camp of taking risks. I don't know if anyone I've met who thinks they're not taking risks. So you've been speaking to a lot of interesting people, because it is risk taking. It is taking risks. And, I've been in positions where over the years, all those things you mentioned, sickness benefit, death in service, those are huge perks for lots of people, in particular in public sector, for sure. I remember when I was, the last ever game I played, last ever game of rugby, dislocated my shoulder, furnace, playing Kevin Ethan, and I'm fuming because when I ended up in hospital and my shoulder put back in, we still lost the bloody game. The least the boys could have done is won the game. But at the time, my wife was off with anxiety and, with her health. She was off on unpaid sick with her employer because of sickness entitlement. You can only get a certain amount of sickness, isn't it? And, I was I remember being in a wheelchair in Prince Philip Hospital with my shoulder still out. I thought I broke my arm. The pain was absolute. I've never experienced anything quite like it. I'm just thinking, how the hell am I going to provide for my family here? My wife isn't earning an income. I physically can't. What the hell? That was probably one of the darkest times I've had running business. I've had many a dark time, Phil, but that certainly was. In situations like that, you wish you were back in employment, because those things are hard.
Yeah. And this is where we come in, is just sit down with them and just point out the obvious. But you've got this, the younger business owners, their mentality is, it won't happen to me, it always happens to somebody else.
Yeah.
The strange thing is, it always happens to somebody else, doesn't it? But that somebody else could be you. And bad things do happen to good people.
I mean, you mentioned there earlier about working with widows and orphans, and I think the best sort of way to help those people is by getting the advice early, because when something happens, it's in most cases not too late, but obviously a lot could be prevented if decisions and conversations happened earlier. Lost both my parents, both of them. None of them had a will, and that's just in times where things like that happen, having a will it's probably one of the simplest things. It's probably easier to write a will than it is to fill out a passport form.
Absolutely.
Honestly, it doesn't take too much to do, but not having those sorts of things in place, because the impact that has, the sort of generational impact that has on families when things aren't put in place, because if there's anything people argue about in families, it's money. And I'm quite grateful for my own Christian faith and what the Bible teaches on money and my attitude towards money. Thankfully, I've not been in positions where I've argued. I've just sort of bitten the bullet. But yeah, money is often a tough conversation in times like that, isn't it, Phil?
I remember doing a seminar many years ago, which you've just reminded me of this now. And I was with a solicitor and an accountant, and then I was the last speaker on this event.
Sounds like a joke, like the Irishman and the Welshman.
Yeah, it wasn't quite like that. and the majority of the people in the audience were retired, and we were talking about making better use of your money, and investment was coming into it. And at that time, wet behind the ears, I asked any questions, and the gentleman in the third row in to the left, I can see it now. Money is the root to all evil. And you always think, when you're driving home that night, I could have come up with a bloody better answer to that, really. And of course, he'd misinterpreted the Bible, because the Bible states it's the love of money that's the root to all evil, because we need money to survive. Without cash flow and without money, it's hell on earth, really, isn't it? And when people go into retirement with a lack of money, that's modern day slavery. So it's our attitude towards money that's the problem, not the money.
And outside of a business or being employed, I think our attitudes to money getting better. at framing how we perceive money is best for any person, any individual, regardless of employment situation. What have you learned over the years? You've got a fount of knowledge in terms of books and things and people you've learned under. What are some of the simpler things that people can take away and just have a better understanding, a better attitude of money? What's a simple thing we can shift our mindset and shift how we perceive money? Because you're right, it's a tool. We need it to survive. We all need to live somewhere. We've got to pay the rent and we've got to pay for the food shop. Do we go on holiday and do we drive nice cars and all those other things that make life more exciting? That's a luxury, I would say. What's a simple thing we can do to shift our mindset on money?
My mindset changed. And a lot of it is by the company I kept, because we're only as good as the people we surround ourselves with. So if you want to know how to do something, find someone who's already doing it. So if you want to be the best at something, go and find out who the best is and become very friendly with them. Now, I've been fortunate enough over the years to be able to share a platform in some big events and big conferences with people who are top of their game, and to the point where they only get asked to speak if they are the best on their subject and probably in the world. And I think the more people that we expose ourselves to of the right mindset, some of that's bound to rub off on us. Cash flow does improve when we change our thinking, but where do we get the wisdom from? There's an old saying that when the student is ready, the book will appear. Or when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. So we need the right people. We need mentors around us. We tend to look at things differently then. What I'm spending, where's my money going? Most people don't know. They know how much they get to the gallon in their car. They know how much it costs to run the car. They haven't got a clue where the rest of their money goes, really. And so looking under the bonnet of your personal finances is key. I didn't realise I spent so much money on takeaways. Yeah. And most business owners then, they're firefighting constantly and they don't pay themselves for weeks or months even. One of the best things I've learnt from a very good mentor over the years is pay yourself first, then invest, and what's left over, have fun with it. That sounds so simple, doesn't it? But if we reverse engineer that and really look at it in the simplistic terms, we don't pay much attention to it because it sounds so simple. But it's habits. We're only as good as the habits that we keep. Change your habits, change your life. Change your thinking, change your life. Change the people around you. Your life will change. The glass can be half full, half empty. We all go through life where things don't go to plan. It's a roller coaster. Most of us don't have bad lives. We just have bad days. This too shall pass. And if you start thinking along those lines, now I never used to be that confident and cocky about it, but it's something that's been learned.
Yeah.
And I've made it for just over 40 years now, a mission on lifelong learning. What can I learn this year that gives me a better life than I had last year and the year before? So much to learn. Never stop learning.
And I guess there's a big focus on you personally with personal development.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the key to it all, really. And I think you get to a time in life where you want your life to change and you have to make big decisions and take big steps, which might be unpopular to some of the people around you. But then I'm a big believer you've only got one life. When someone says to me, you only live once, go out and enjoy. No, you live every day. Make the most of it. What can I do today to improve something that's going on in my life or your life? What can I do today to make you happy about this meeting that we're having now? What can I say that'll change your thinking? we're only as good as our thinking.
Good. You mentioned earlier about mentoring, mentors. You've had mentors over the years. Do you still consider have a mentor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's the company we keep. Now, the mentor doesn't have to be...
Because I think of this, for me, in my experience, it's always been we make a mentor too, but in my experience, it's been blokes, right? Bloke associates. We want blokes to sort of get into our skin, and I'm quite honest with blokes when So I've had some good role models in my life that I've looked up to, spiritually in business, but they tend to be a lot older because, like you said, you want to learn from people who've walked the walk, done the talk. So, for me being 7-8 years in business, I want to learn from somebody who's done 20 years in business. And they're probably learning from somebody who's done 30 years or so. So you still consider yourself to have a mentor, but maybe you see it differently as because you're not. You still got a way to go, Phil. But being 40 years in business, I guess are you seeing mentorship as somebody who's more around you, surround you more than looking up to?
It's the company we keep. So a mentor could be someone in your family that's very wise, older, and can pass down experiences, and that gets a wisdom. That's a mentor. A lot of business owners think, "Oh, I need to go on a big Tony Robbins course and get them to mentor me." And if you can afford to do that, and it doesn't put you in more debt, then yes, because you learn from it and you'll mix with people, like-minded people during that weekend, and it works. There's hundreds of people, thousands of people around the world saying we went on that event with Tony Robbins and it was a game changer and my life will never be the same again. Yeah, okay, fantastic. Put it on your list. Nothing wrong with that at all. But it could be your grandparents, couldn't it? That struggled and came out the other end. And sometimes all they've got to say to you when you're at your lowest is, hang on in there. This too shall pass. That can have the same effect. But we've got to learn skills. Many business owners that I've come across, tremendous amount of arrogance in the business world. And a lot of business owners seem to think that success is the Ferrari or the big house and the overseas property and so on. When I see that, I see debt, overhead and liability. Because they've only been in business 2-3 years. To me, that's risk. And the chances are if they had a heart attack, stroke or cancer, which is what's going to happen to a majority of us, 1 in 3 is going to have heart attack, stroke or cancer before retirement age. And if you have one of those, hopefully you'll survive it. You won't lose all this. And the banks won't say we want all our money back, and because we've seen that as well. You've seen it. It's, I'd like to say it's uncommon, but it's quite common, really. So it takes 15 years to become an overnight success. And then you can't sit back and just relax. You've constantly got to be creative. You've constantly got to be on the ball and learning, because last year's thinking is not as effective as the new stuff that you're learning today, really. And by mixing with the right people, you'll keep your enthusiasm and energy up. And because if you've got enthusiasm and energy, you can make stuff happen. So when you struggle to get out of bed in the morning and you get depressed, the whole world falls down around you.
Yeah.
So we need the right people around us to make sure that they encouraging us and helping us, guiding us, so that we keep going.
So on that point, mentoring, I think, is super important for us to develop personally, and in a business sense, it could be a coach or a mentor. They cross over, don't they, in terms of function and roles. But I think if anyone's running a business, they should have a coach or a mentor, absolutely. I was just speaking earlier this morning. Alex Shufflebottom, known as, she sold the business. She's now in a position now where, she's done that gig and she's now looking for businesses to mentor because she's been there, done that, worn the t-shirt, and she wants to give back now and help some growing businesses. But you said that earlier. I think I've seen successful business owners find success through building strong support networks. I think it's vital. Sometimes, you don't have staff, or at least I don't think so. You're quite a lean business, but when you're solo on your own, it can be quite lonely, can't it? So it's important to surround yourself with a community or with like-minded people. What do you look for because business can be quite cutthroat as well, Phil. Sometimes it can be hard to make friends. Sometimes you can lose trust in people. What do you look for in someone who can support you in business, or even in a friend? What do you look for when you look to turn to someone who can give you support?
Loyalty and encouragement. The people I've got around me have got skills that I don't have. And I look at now, when I'm faced with a situation or working on something for somebody, how much of this do I need to focus on? And how much of it can I hand over to my team so that they can tie it up and make it look good? Because we can't be good at everything. There's not enough time in the day. Each and every one of us has a unique ability. Sometimes it takes 30, 40 years to realise what you're good at. If you've got the right people around you and the right mentors around you, you'll find out what you're good at much sooner. Focus on your unique ability and delegate the rest. Because that's the only way you're going to grow is by handing stuff over to other people, because you can't do all the stuff yourself. You get burnout, you'll forget, you get things wrong, and you end up in court because you've dropped the ball and made a big hash of things. So the right team around you is ideal, but you want a team that will encourage you, support you, and are loyal to you. You don't want people that are negative. Therefore, they're like drains. They drain your energy. You want a radiator that actually is there, pushing and supporting you. However, you've got to treat them with respect and different as well. Most new young business owners that I come across, they see staff or the team around them. That's an expense, that is. The wage bill is a hell of a liability. The successful business owners look at their staff as investment. That's an investment. I'm investing in them, and they're supporting me. And I can make a bigger investment in my staff if I'm in the right frame of mind and have the encouragement and support which comes with loyalty. So it's looking at the whole unit as a team. We're only as good as the team that we play with.
Yeah, that's spot on. And I could totally relate that in a business sense, having to find my feet and build my team over the years. In a friendship sense, a support sense, if you were sort of thinking about, let's say, you're in a dark place, you're in business, because your staff can't get you out of that position. It's probably not the best place to ask for advice. What do you look for turn into someone in business that could be a mentor, that could be someone who's been there 30, 40 years ahead of you. What do you look for when you put your trust in that person next to you, that business friend? Because there are, I've got lots of friends. I'm sure you've got lots of friends, Phil. But how many have you got that you can truly count on? When the chips are down, who do you phone? What do you look for in building that trust, in confiding in someone privately? What makes a good friend to you in business that you can turn to?
I think this is truly a personal thing, and we're all different. And I can only share what I believe, and people who challenge this as well. And how often have we come across people over the last couple of years saying, "Oh, do you know, I'm doing well. I got 3,000 friends on Facebook." Bollocks. A friend, chances are you probably haven't got more. As you get older, you probably haven't got more than 3 to 5 friends. To me, a friend is someone that will take a phone call off you at 3 o'clock in the morning and not judge you. Say, okay, do you need me? Whose car are we using, yours or mine? That's a friend.
Yeah.
We all need these friends. And if you haven't got these friends, the chances are you're a crap friend yourself, technical term. Because the more that we do to support others, the true relationships will appear, and you'll get close to people, because we all need support and we all need friends. And here comes the loyalty, because time will tell whether the friendship is ideal or loyal. Sometimes you've got to let go of these relationships, really. Not everybody will be with you on the full journey. It's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but that's life.
Yeah, I heard something that stuck with me. Paul Scanlon, he was a pastor leading a church in Bradford many years ago, and somebody taught me this quote. I've never heard it from him, but they said, "Oh, Paul Scanlon said this: if you're on a bus, sometimes somebody's got to get off the bus for the bus to go forward." Because people can leave our lives, can they, in different seasons, and sometimes that hurts if it's friends or it could be clients, customers, but sometimes people leaving your life is a good thing, because as that sort of saying goes, the bus, passengers have got to get off to move forward, to go to the next destination. And I think what you've highlighted there is true, with friends and supporting, because I could have X amount of I mean, Joe, what's sad to me, Phil? I go to a lot of schools, workshops, inspiring kids about opportunities within creative industries. That's what I'm passionate about. And people want to be influencers. I want to be an influencer when I grow up. Do you? Well, you want followers on TikTok for what? What meaning? What purpose does that have in life? Just having people follow you on TikTok. I think what a real influencer looks like is somebody who wants to change a society and wants to create a culture of change in Wales. That's what I see as an influencer, not somebody who's just selling affiliate links on TikTok shop, But it's crazy kids are like, I want to be an influencer. And I get this, you can do that for good, right?
Yes.
Of course, you can use a platform for good. But just to sell some stuff, for a company to send you a product to do a sales pitch. I couldn't think of anything worse to do on TikTok.
How the world has changed, isn't it? Who would have thought about this 5 years ago, 10 years ago? And the youngsters today are being influenced, and you then want to be like these people, because as far as you're aware, they're very popular, making money, although I haven't seen much of that. But it's an illusion, and that's the way media and social media has drawn us in over the years. I don't want to be an influencer.
You're not?
No, I want to be a better listener. Because when I'm speaking, I'm not learning anything. When I'm listening, I'm bringing in so much information, and I'm learning, or learning how not to do something. And most people talk about their problems. And if I can listen without interrupting and give them the space to share what's going on in their lives, chances are I can add some value, put some tools on the table so that things can be fixed. And then all of a sudden you become somebody of value. If you're somebody of value in business should be successful, shouldn't it?
Should. But listening, it's a key skill that I think lots of people miss when it comes to communication.
Yeah.
I've had to learn this the hard way. I don't know if you know, I'm a bit of an extrovert, Phil, and I like to talk.
That's a good thing.
I've got to ring myself in, because I've got to give people the floor and a chance to talk. But it's good you mentioned there about listening. Vital. But also I'd argue, if there are there are some people who are born to be influencers, and you can listen, of course, to learn and learn in that way, but also you can teach by speaking. So actually, there's great value in both, in listening and communicating and speaking. But yeah, I think knowing when to listen, that's a skill that people like me certainly struggle with. It's a lot harder, a lot easier for an introvert to listen than it is for an extrovert. But then there's listening, but there's listening. Actually having empathy and being connected and having sincere interest in that person, that's a bit different than just hearing what they're saying.
But the interesting thing there in what you've shared, which is, I'm with you 100%, really. You're putting yourself down and highlighting faults, but yet you're aware. So that's good, because you know when to listen. Sometimes you need to speak more than the other person in order to fire them up, really,
Yeah.
to get them to feel comfortable, and then they'll want to share something based on what you've said, and then just sit back and listen. Another fascinating point there that you mentioned about people getting on and off the bus and the relationship side of it. Every relationship has a story. Every relationship has some wisdom, something that you can share. And someone like you, a phenomenal storyteller, is what you do for a living, and try to get the stories of other people. But of course, all these relationships, everybody we've touched, everybody that's touched us, that's material. And things that have gone pear-shaped or wrong, or irritation plus time equals humour. So that most comedians or motivational speakers with a humorous side, they share things that have gone pear-shaped. Where's that come from? Relationships they've had, and they've turned it into humour. So everything has commercial value. If we only sit back, listen,
Yeah.
and analyse it or reverse engineer it, dissect it, it's all material.
All material. So you see that as a, because we've already deep dived into the communication, and you're a comedian. Do you call yourself a comedian?
Well, I've done my share.
You've done your share.
I've had some amazing opportunities over many years. It's another string to the bow, and it's opened many doors.
Humour is a I think a really powerful tool in a communication sense.
Absolutely.
You can just bring humour. Well, we can see humour, comedy as entertainment, isn't it? You can pay to go. I can go to Swansea Arena now and see, I don't know, Greg Davies or Jimmy Carr, funny guys. You're there for entertainment, you know. But I think sometimes it's good to add a bit of humour in just public speaking, because I think without humour, it's a little dry, it's a little boring. So it's good to have humour, isn't it?
Yeah. And most comedians are very clever, and yet off stage they're not funny and they're depressed. There's a tremendous amount of depression in the world of comedy, and when they go on,
baffles me.
Yeah, absolutely. And the best are the most troubled. You know, some really funny characters out there, but when you're travelling with them 2 hours to a gig, you need antidepressants yourself, you know, quite often. And it's a mindset thing, but yet these talented people, once the lights are on them and they grab hold of that microphone, and quite common apparently. One of my old mentors,
Robin Williams, he's one of the greats.
Prime example. One of my old mentors in the early days was a brilliant comedian, after dinner speaker. He's no longer with us, and he took a big shine to me, and we used to sit down at my kitchen table through the winter nights once or twice a week, trying to structure routines. And he looked at me one night and he said, "What do you like handling rejection?" I said, "What do you mean?" "Well, when it doesn't go to plan, well, like people say no to you." He said, No, because you're going to die 1,000 deaths on stage, and you won't be talking about the nights where everything went well. You'll be talking about the nights where you died on stage. But if you can handle that rejection, you'll do well. And you do realise, and his wife told me this, do you realise a lot of comedians in the early days committed suicide? And I thought, well, this isn't very encouraging, is it? And yet here was a gentleman that used to, every gig he used to do, used to try to put me on the bill with him, and just to find my feet. And then we'd analyse what worked and what didn't work afterwards. And I think I was an exception to the rule because I always see the positive or the good in everything. And it wasn't always that way. I've had to work hard in trying to look at the best or pull out the best from a situation. And I was wired differently then to the people that I used to work with. Because they were doom and gloom. The only time they were on a high was when they had a good gig and they were driving home and they had a few beers as well, which added to it. And they couldn't go to bed till 4 o'clock in the morning and they were good for nothing in the following day. And me, I was just trying to be sprinkling fairy dust every flipping where, really. So I was a pain in the backside to them because you can't be that positive all the time. And I used to say to myself, well, you can if you try, And so it's I've learned a lot from it because you can defuse a situation and you can bring a crowd of people or an audience closer to you by sharing humour. And if you can put yourself down as well, you're more human, you're more sort of approachable. And the Welsh are good at humour anyway, aren't they?
We are, I think.
I think absolutely.
Even in inappropriate times.
Oh, yes.
Do you know what? I quite like a laugh at a funeral. Don't tell me you got a story about a funeral.
Absolutely.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been able to extract a few laughs from a funeral, and just ask your good friend Emma Melrose.
Yeah.
And I'll leave her tell you. But yes, you got to look. Do you know what? It's not good being too serious, isn't it? And we're not going to get out of this. We're not going to get out of this life alive, are we? We're going to get out of this, So we take things too serious.
I remember.
Look for the funny side.
I remember my Dickie's funeral, and my Dickie was a deacon at Salem, Capel Salem in Llangenech. And I remember I'm always the one who's asked, because a public speaker or whatever, I'm always asking the family to share things in funeral. It's bloody awful, really. I've done my father's eulogy and my mother's eulogy. Anyway, my Dickey, this must have been, 12 years ago. And I remember I went to share, about 10 years ago, I had a Bible verse I wanted to share. I think it was from Luke. It was about Lazarus, Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead. A little scripture in Luke. And it was my moment to go up on the pulpit. And this is like a Baptist chapel now. And it was packed there. It was absolutely packed. And the Key's coffin was on the trolley in one of the aisles. Now, I'm like a 24-stone bloke. Got out of the chair. And the only way for me to get to the pulpit was to walk past my Key's coffin. And I could see the look of my mother as I'm walking past the Key's coffin, and I could see the coffin rock because I was physically pushing the coffin. And I thought, oh my gosh, what if the Key falls off here now? This is going to be the worst funeral ever. Thankfully, he didn't. It was kind of funny looking back on it now. But yeah, funeral, I do find in Wales, funerals is a nice thing to, when you're feeling rubbish or upset, and it's good to have a laugh to sort of bring it back, and you know, I think for me and with them, I think Em has a big perspective on this is, and for me as a my belief as a Christian, it's in lots of funerals I've been to, it's a celebration of life.
Oh, then.
You know, it's not a
Absolutely.
doom and gloom. It's would they really want you wallowing about this? No, they want, you know, let's celebrate the good things. And often most funerals I've been to more recently are a bit more upbeat and energy. Of course, it is sad, isn't it? Because it's not natural to, you know, to see you know, a coffin and going through the crematorium. But yeah, bit of humour in a funeral, that does a world of good.
Yeah, yeah. I got one story to share with you. About 30 plus years ago, a businessman in Swansea, and he was quite a few years older than me, and he said, and he was a magician, and he'd been a very successful magician in the International Brotherhood of Magicians circles and so on. And he and I went to many of these events together, and we became very close. And you could say we sort of mentored each other, really. And he said to me one day when we were driving back from an event in Weston-super-Mare, he said to me, do you know when I die? I thought, where's this going? I said, what makes you think that you're going to go before me? Well, no, you know, this is how it works. But when I die, would you mind doing the breaking of the wand ceremony at my funeral? I said, what's that? He said, well, when Houdini died, there was a ceremony created. So another magician must say a few words, explain what the breaking of the wand ceremony was, and then break the wand, and then put the wand on the coffin, and turn and walk away. I thought he was having me on now. I'm looking for the punchline. But of course, the thinking behind that is that the magician always dies and takes the secrets with him. True magician never reveal the magic, so the magic dies with them. And he looked at me and he said, would you? I said, yeah, of course I will. And I just sort of brushed it off. 18, 19 years went by, and I met him at a dinner in Swansea, and he said, you do realise now that you're doing the ceremony for me? And I turned to him and I said, good God, you're going to outlive us all. No, I said, you see, he knew his health was deteriorating. And he was a speaker at the big dinner that night, and he stormed the place, and he did a bit of magic. It was beautiful to watch him, really, you know, a master at this craft. Anyway, 4 years ago, if not 5 years ago, I'm part of a workshop for businesses up in just outside London. And there was a break in the day, 11, 12 o'clock or something like this. And you check your phone as you do. And as I'm checking the phone went off. It started ringing. So I thought, well, I'm supposed to be running this group, so everyone's having a coffee. So I went outside and I took the call. And it was this man's wife that said, Phil, do you have the wand ready? I knew. I said, what happened? They switched off the life support machine this morning. Because we'd forgotten there's big gaps in you know, when we spoke last, and I knew his health was deteriorating, but I didn't realise he'd gone downhill so quick from this dinner. Whew, this is a bit of a shock now, really. And I said, without thinking, look, I'm so sorry, and I'm in London, I'll call in to see you tomorrow, but yes, everything will be okay. Inside, bloody hell, this isn't going to be okay, really. So I've got to go back in now and pick the room up, really, and pretend nothing happened. And I got the wisdom and the strength from somewhere to be able to raise the room and make it colourful, and everything was okay. So I'm phoning a magic dealer. On the way home then the following day, I'm phoning the magic dealer somewhere up in England, and I said, look, I've been asked to do this, and this breaking of the wand ceremony, and first happened at Houdini's funeral, and any guidance? I need a wand. And they said, yeah, Phil, yeah, this is what you need to do. Yeah, okay.
I know where this is going.
And shall we prepare the wand for you? I said, what do you mean? Well, you're going to have trouble breaking a proper magician's wand because it's made out of hardwood. And you don't want to be doing 3 attempts when you're delivering this to a packed funeral. So anyway, they went and they cheated a little bit. They cut halfway through the wand, but nobody could see the break apart from me. And then 10 days afterwards, the funeral was in Morriston Crematorium. They could have filled 3 crematoriums. He was such a highly respected man, and he'd helped so many people over the years. And technically, I was the outsider. Family came out of the hearse, caught hold of me, walked me into the front. Everybody's looking around. Who the hell is this boy here? And I've got everything in my pocket. And when it came to that moment where the minister conducting the funeral said, and now we're going to call on Phil Evans to come up and do something special. Now, this isn't something that you rehearse, and it's probably something I'll never do again. But all of a sudden, it's lights, camera, action, you're there because it's expected of you. And you explain what the ceremony was about. This is when it started with Houdini. And as you know, funeral today for a very respected magician, very clever man. He's helped so many magicians over the years. And then I went into the routine and broke the wand. Thankfully, it went in half quite quickly. And all I had to do was put it in my hand, go over to the coffin, put it on the top, nod, walk away, sit down. It wasn't a dry eye in the house. It was probably the best delivery I've ever done. Never done anything as powerful since, and probably never will. But it was so moving and one hell of an experience. And people were asking me afterwards, would you do it again? Would never have the opportunity to do it again. But that was fraught with humour as well, until you got to the end where there wasn't a dry eye in the house. So that's theatre, that's drama, that's communication at its best. I've gone downhill ever since.
Gone downhill. Well, I thought the story was the wand didn't snap. That's what I thought you were going, because that would have been funny, but also not so funny.
Preparation was key.
Yeah, you did half the cut. They did half the cut for you. What a great story. What was your friend's name?
Mike
the magician. Magic Mike. The OG Magic Mike.
Wow. A well-respected businessman and magician in Swansea by the name of Mike Ho.
Mike Ho. Wow. Well, I didn't know that about magicians. That's that's a secret in itself then.
Neither did I, really.
No? Was he just told you a funny story and it doesn't happen? Yeah, fantastic.
Lovely. It was a privilege.
I bet it was. And, to do that sort of audience, the moment, it's quite a lot of pressure to get it right. You literally have to do one thing.
One take.
And he smashed it. Yeah. I bet, that was a real special moment for the family.
He was looking down on me on that day and rooting for me.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. Powerful story. Phil, I got to hear quite a bit about yourself and more about the stories that you tell, more than your own story, which have been fascinating. I'd love to know, if you could sit here for an hour and listen to anyone's story, whose story would you love to hear? That could be somebody influential, inspirational in the world of magic, comedy, business, financial services, or it could be somebody completely fictional, a TV character. If you could sit down and listen to somebody's story, whose would you listen?
I was asked a similar question some years ago. If you could have a boardroom, who do you want sitting in the boardroom with you?
That's a bloody good question.
And sharing their wisdom with you. And I've been fortunate enough then over the years to be able to share a platform and host big events where they've brought in some clever and influential famous people to share their life story and or wisdom that they can pass on. So I think I've been on an interesting path. So I'm finding that question a little bit challenging now, but I would certainly probably like to share an hour with Dale Carnegie. He's no longer with us because he was one of the pioneers of personal development, and he wrote a book which I picked up from a library a long, long time ago when I was in my early 20s. It was How to Win Friends and Influence People.
I've heard of that book.
And
How to Win Friends
most
and Influence People.
personal development courses have stemmed from the nuggets of wisdom in that book. And I've seen public speakers, high-earning public speakers, travel the world to share their message. And the message was built on what was in that book. Most business networking events where they teach people how to present and communicate and build businesses, then I guess the wisdom have come from that's the source. So if I see somebody teaching or sharing a message, I want to know, okay, where did that teacher or speaker get the wisdom from? Who taught them? Who teaches the teacher? So go back to the source. And the source, more often than not, can be found in Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
How to Win Friends and Influence People. I've 100% heard that before.
And a very religious man, high value man, people focused, tremendous listener, probably one of the best communicators this planet has ever had, really. So spending an hour with someone like that would get me to look at things differently and enhance my life without a shadow of a doubt, because that's timeless wisdom. That would be my number one, I think, because that's where it all starts.
Fantastic choice.
That's the source.
That's the source. Well, in anything we do, Phil, and communicate, there is an ultimate source of truth. We get that information from somewhere. Is it through a person, or the person's learned it from somewhere? Is it a degree? Is it a book? You know, so it all stems from a source of knowledge. But to spend an hour with him, wow, what knowledge you would get from a conversation like that.
He would probably refer to the Bible
Could well.
a lot.
Could well. The oldest story ever told. Fantastic. Phil, thank you so much. I've learned a lot. I've really enjoyed this conversation. If anyone wanted to reach out to you and engage you in any of the sort of topics that we've covered, where's the best place to find you? In a rally car somewhere?
Through you.
Through me?
Through this platform here.
Booking through Story Company. If you want financial advice, if you want a rally driver, a public speaker, magician, comedian, anything else I've missed?
Oh, that's enough for them, isn't it?
That's enough. Reach out to us. We'd love to support you if any of you feel that you want to get connected with Phil. Phil, diolch o'r galon. Thank you so much for coming down. I've learned so much from this conversation. So, yeah, this is for me, just this sitting here learning from you has been very special for me today. So, thank you for all you brought, and thank you for sharing your own story today with me. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you for the opportunity. Keep doing what you're doing, because you're touching lives and making a difference. Well done.
Diolch. Thanks for listening to What's Your Story. If you enjoy this conversation, I would encourage you to subscribe on your favourite podcast platform, whether that's Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, and the rest, because we don't want you to miss out on future episodes. Sharing these stories really helps us reach more people. And if you know someone in Wales or beyond with a great story to tell, let us know. Because we believe everyone has a story. Diolch am gwrando. Thank you for listening. We will see you in the next episode.